On this episode of Shine with Kendell Lenice, we will be talking self-forgiveness with our guest, Rolanda St Felix. Don't forget to get her book, Purposeful Growth, available now on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Now on with today's show.
Shine with Kendell Lenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.
Kendell Lenice. Welcome to another episode of Shine with me, Kendell Lenice. I will be your host this week and every week. I go by the name of the Remix Coach. I'm a transformational life coach, speaker, author, meditation practitioner, podcaster, talk show host, and most importantly, I am a woman of a certain age. So throughout this show, you will be educated, elevated, and entertained with our various topics and guests on this season of Shine with Kendell Lenice. We are now in season 8. Yay! So make sure you do me a favor and subscribe if you can and share this podcast with your friends and family. If you are interested in healing, growth, laughter, being better, wiser, and more fulfilled, then this is a podcast for you. Now on to this week's episode of Shine with Kendell Lenice. Hey everybody, welcome to this life podcast. Of course, that's what I call it because this is a podcast to be better in life, to learn something. I employ everyone to learn something new every single day. That should be your goal. No matter what stage or age you are in your life, you should be able to learn something new. As a life coach, it's important for me to give you the nuggets in life that you need to continue to keep going, and also to have the conversations that you may have in your head or that you want to have, but you don't even know how to get them started. So that's what this podcast is about. It's about life coaching. And in season 8, we will be talking to guests this season. If you've been following me all 8 seasons, you know that I used to have guests. And then a couple of, I think just last season, I did strict life coaching. I think the last 2 seasons. And now I'm pleased to have this episode. This is the 3rd episode of season 8. And I'm excited to have my guest with me. We will be talking self-forgiveness because self-forgiveness is really deep when you think about it. People always say forgiveness is for you. It's not for them. You need to forgive them. But what about forgiving yourself when you do something that you think in your mind is unforgivable? So before I bring in my guest, I want to start with this week's life note. All right, it's time for this week's life note. All right, so this week's life note is from Maya Angelou, the late, great Maya Angelou. Forgiveness is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Forgiveness is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Now, oftentimes people have the most difficult time forgiving themselves. So I can't wait to unpack that with my guests. But I hope you all had an amazing week thus far. I hope you did something great for yourself. And I hope that you were able to grow in just this week's life span since I last saw you. Since we last talked, what has been happening? Well, I started a new show on YouTube called The Weekly Voice, where I unpack the week, just talking about different things that happen in that week. So you can catch that on my YouTube channel. Make sure you go over there to Kendell Lenice to subscribe. And of course, I have my other shows on there, and we started the 2nd season of More Than Just a Movie, MT Jams, where my co-host and I, Leroy McKenzie Jr., break down classic black films. And then, of course, I have all the interviews and the talk show, everything over there. Just go follow me on, or subscribe, I should say, to my YouTube channel, Kendell Lenice, and you can see everything that's there. Across the board, I'm all about education, elevation, and entertainment. All right, without further ado, I want to introduce poet and author Rolanda St Felix. Welcome to Shine with Kendell Lenice. Thank you for shining with me.
Thank you.
How are you, my dear?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for shining with me.
Of course.
All right, so we are talking self-forgiveness today. And when I asked you to be a guest on this week's episode, and I said I wanted to talk about forgiveness, and then I changed it. I said, no. I want to talk about self-forgiveness. What was the first thing that came to your mind as I sip my tea and listen to you?
Well, the first thing that came to mind when it went from just forgiveness to self forgiveness, I kind of had to sit back and think oh wow, there has been a few times where I had to forgive myself for certain things that sometimes you don't even remember all the time, but that one time that clicks in your head. So I was glad that you told me this specific topic.
Yes, and I'm glad that you said that, because a lot of people, they're called mean, they're called angry, they're called all of these things that are not true. And really what it boils down to is people hurting and from experiences, and sometimes so mad at themselves that they can't even be their full selves and blossom because of something that they need to forgive themselves for. Now, some people have a hard time forgiving themselves, but they can forgive other people, and they keep hurting them and doing whatever they're doing over and over and over again. But it's hard for them to forgive themselves. Have you ever had a time where you needed to forgive yourself? And what was that revelation like when you realized, hey, maybe it's forgiveness that I need? Or maybe you never even realized it's forgiveness until now.
Yeah. Well, there was actually a time where I felt like I needed to forgive myself because I felt like I was a little too hard on myself at that particular time. So basically, I felt like a lot of things that occurred in my life, like the self doubt, and then the dealing with negative people, basically, like the negative comments, the bullying, the self doubt. I thought a lot of those things were my fault in the beginning. So I had to, reevaluate and realize that, it wasn't my fault. I can't, control what other people do, and that I did have to learn to forgive myself first in order to follow up with forgiveness for other people.
And that's good. That's good. Why do you think that people have a hard time forgiving themselves? Why do you think that?
I think people have a hard time forgiving themselves sometimes because they don't want to. One, they don't want to admit to the truth of a situation. Because I feel like sometimes when we're younger and when we basically grow up, our younger selves sometimes might want life to be a certain kind of way. Oh, this is not what I dreamed about when I was a little girl. I didn't dream of living here. I didn't dream of having, this kind of lifestyle, going to school, or having this type of career. And then it's when you get older and you basically grow into yourself and you see, what life has to offer. Sometimes they have regret or disappointment. And it's you know what? In order to really enhance in other great relationships, you have to work on the relationship with yourself. So once you get that, not 100%, because nobody is perfect. So it's I feel like as long as you work on the relationship within yourself first, everything else will basically follow.
You're so absolutely right, and I'm on my mission. That is my mission, to really help people, especially Black people, and people of color all around, because Black people have so much, and I'm Black, obviously, and I have a passion. I love all people, but I just have a passion for Black folks, because a lot of times we haven't been given permission to heal and to grow and to love ourselves for who we are and who we're not. You know, for the longest time, people tell us who we need to be, and we code switch and, you know, try to figure out. I'm not into that code switch, and I am who I am across the board, but we are taught to code switch and don't act this way in front of them, and you can't fully be your full self. Don't wear your natural hair here or now. Of course, it's changing. But it used to be, your natural hair is not professional, or you're not supposed to do this or talk like this or speak like this. So we had for a long time, people were given permission to be a certain way. And I want to erase all of that. And I want people to really be who they are authentically. And, not even thinking about what someone else says or does or what the prototype should be. And people need permission, really, to forgive themselves, because people don't even realize that they may need forgiving, and they don't know the root of a lot of things that are going on within their lives. So I totally agree with you. Like, it really starts with you. How your relationships are like branches on a tree. You know, you got a branch with how this relationship is and that relationship is, and you have all of these branches, but you are really the root when it comes to the people you have relationships with. Would you agree with that? Like, Matt, like if you get along with this person, if you don't, now we know people got different personalities and some people you just don't rock with and all that. We know that. But do you think that it all falls back to you and how you are with people, or what do you think?
I think that you as a person is the first person, like first personality, the first, energies that a room or a person might basically get. So it's like, say you're in a room with, say you, for example, are in a room with a bunch of people, and then I walk in. So I'm basically the first person that they're gonna, see. I'm the first person they're gonna see. I'm the first personality that they're gonna, come in contact with. I'm the first energy that they're gonna basically feel, when they come into that room. So I feel like you yourself is your own advocate. I feel like whatever you bring to the table, that basically portrays how you are within yourself. You get what I'm saying? So
yeah.
It's like when you basically come in contact with other people, the way you act, the way you speak, the way you come off, all in all, shows how you really feel about yourself. And I feel like sometimes, like, even with, like, friendships and relationships and stuff, sometimes you may have an argument with someone, or you may have a disagreement and this and that. And sometimes when people lash off, it's like, or lash out, it's like, sometimes it's not even about the next person.
Mm-hmm.
It's really about how they're feeling about themselves
mm-hmm.
in the moment. So, I feel like a lot of miscommunication sometimes comes about because Sarah might think that, Joe is mad at her because what she did last week or what Jill did, last month. And it's like, no, like, Joe's going through his own stuff. Jill's going
mm-hmm.
through her own stuff. And it's like, she might be mad that she burnt her bagel or something that morning. And, and she laughed at her.
Right.
And you looking at her like, well, girl, what did I do? And it's like, I'm not even mad at you, honestly. It's really me. Like, it's really me because I burnt my bagel because I didn't wake up early enough for work. And so it's really sometimes within a person's self. And that's why sometimes it's good to get to be in tune, with yourself. Like, what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what you like, what you don't like. Yeah, it kind of like flows better after that.
It's so true. That is absolutely true. That's why when I used to work with a girl, and people used to be like, Kendell, why are you her friend? You're always so positive and sunny, and she got an attitude, and she's mean. And I would be like, no, she's not. She just didn't rock with everybody, and she had trust issues and certain things. There's always a reason. Like, nobody is standoffish for no reason. Nobody is quote unquote mean for no reason. She was sweet as pie to me. She used to be like, why are you always talking to people? You know, why are you always, she was like, they get, you know, and she just wasn't that type, but she wasn't mean by any stretch. But she had been through some things and she had experienced some things which hardened her, you know, and when people hold on to different things that have happened to them in their lives because of maybe what they did, or if they had a part to play in it, they don't know how to give themselves permission to forgive themselves. And so they kind of hold on to it. Like if they made a mistake, they hold on to that mistake instead of forgiving themselves and moving on. Just like if you have a friend and they do something wrong, you say, I forgive you, you hug it out, and y'all move on and y'all cool. People don't know how to do that with themselves. Have you ever been in that situation where you discover, like, I need to forgive myself and hug and love on myself and go on about my business? Have you ever held anything that you've done and you kept thinking about it all the time? Like, oh, I wish I wouldn't have done that. Instead of saying, you know what, Rolanda, I'm going to let this go. I'm going to learn from this and I'm going to keep on rolling. Have you ever had that experience?
Yes, of course. I did when I actually had like a small, like, I guess you could say falling out with the person before. And then, you know, sometimes when you have like a disagreement, like argument, you say, oh, you know, I wish I would have said this, or I wish I would have said that. You have a whole list of things that you wish you should have added to the conversation, you know, days later. And then I realized, I'm like, you know what, this person is no longer in your life. Like, you know, some people are seasonal, and this person's season is up. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, you can't fight yourself. And I fought myself for a while, and I'm like, was it me? Like, did I do something? You know, I tried my best in the conversation, in relationships, and this and that. And I kind of thought it was like beating myself up about it because we were so cool for so long. And then I had to remember, like, no, you did all that you could. You know, there's no reason to beat yourself up about it. And I basically loved on myself, and I kind of, like, you know, felt better. And I realized that, you know, this is just what life is giving right now. Like,
yeah.
Everybody can't come with you everywhere that you go. So
mm-hmm.
It's like, all right, Matt.
Yeah. Because I've been in situations where I've had to forgive myself. I might have spoke out of turn, or I might have said something I shouldn't have said, or maybe done something I didn't, you know, not intentionally, but done something I shouldn't have done. And I'd be like, dang, you know, why did I do that? I wish I wouldn't have done that. Like, dang,
what
go
came
on.
Over me?
Huh? What'd you say?
You wonder, like, what came over you.
Right. And you're like, oh, why did I, you know, and then you're harping on it maybe for way too long. That means you're not forgiving yourself, instead of, not saying that you let yourself off the hook quickly, but that's something that can't live with you. Like, it can visit for a moment and you go through it, and then you learn from your mistakes, or you learn from your missteps, because that's really what life is. And I remember, you know, certain seasons I would just be like, dang, you know, why did I say that? If only if, but though as I got older, they became shorter. Like, just do better, Kendell, you know, because we all have those times where we can just do better, learn from that mistake and not beat yourself up. You got to forgive yourself and keep it pushing. And I think the difference is, where someone holds on to something that they do wrong and they're not able to release that so they can live a healthy life. Have you ever met someone who just seems like they just harp on things that they did wrong all the time?
Yeah, like they never want to give themselves grace.
There you go. Boom.
You know, automatically dwell on what, you know, the shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I know people that would be like, well, I should have did this. Yeah, I should have did. It's like, but you didn't. So let's see how we can be better later.
Better.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You know better for next time.
Right. So I wanted to do this show to help people learn how to forgive themselves, because a lot of people are like, I just can't stop thinking about it, and what I did was wrong. And there are levels to this, because it could be something you think is wrong that's really minuscule, but if you went out and killed someone, or you did something like that, then which is a wrong act, but then you still have to be able to forgive yourself. Now, it doesn't mean that you can't remember what you did or repent or to make amends, but you can't beat yourself up for the rest of your life.
Exactly, because that's not even going to change anything, to be honest.
Right. And God, and if you believe in God, God forgives you. You got to make amends. You have to own up to, whatever it is on any level. We can talk about something super small, like I said, or super large, but you got to be able to forgive yourself and breathe. We're going to take a quick break.
Absolutely.
Yes, we're going to take a quick break. And I went to healthline.com, and they have ways to forgive yourself. So I want to go through some of those things. And Rolanda, you and I are going to talk about that. Is that cool?
Sure, definitely.
All right, let's take a quick break. We'll be right back. Purposeful Growth by new author and poet Rolanda St Felix. This is her first published poetry book. It's a captivating collection of poems about life's journey through her eyes. This is very relatable. This is necessary for growth and healing for all of us. If you love poetry, you're going to love this book. This book can be found on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com. One thing for sure, there's going to be change in our life. So let's read about it in a positive way and help us for our own purposeful growth. Purposeful Growth by Rolanda St Felix. Out now. Get your copy and gift your copy. Now back to the show. Thank you for shining with me, Kendell Lenice. If you're here for the very first time, thank you for tuning in. Please subscribe to the show and don't forget to tell your friends and family about Shine. We'll be right back. All right, we are back with our author and poet, Rolanda St Felix. Make sure y'all get her book on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com, Purposeful Growth. All right, Rolanda, we are talking forgiveness of thine self. To thine self be true.
Right.
Right. Because I hear people, you know what? Some people be doing people dirty. Let's just keep it real. And they can still forgive them because they know forgiveness is about them. So they can forgive in that aspect. But I think that the same grace should be extended to yourself, and you should be able to forgive yourself. Now, people might be saying, Kendell and Rolanda, I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to forgive myself. Well, I'm going to help you through Healthline.com. You guys know I use either Healthline.com or PsychologyToday.com just to talk about some things. All right. So focus on your emotions, they say. How to forgive yourself. Focus on your emotions. And as a life coach, I like to really name that emotion. What is an emotion you're feeling? If you don't know, kind of figure it out. Are you sad? Are you upset? Because all of those are secondary emotions. What is the real feeling? Are you hurt? That's really typically what it is. So they say focus on emotion. One of the first steps in learning how to forgive yourself is focus on your emotion. Before you can move forward, you need to acknowledge and process your emotions. Absolutely, I agree. Like I said, wow, give yourself permission to recognize and accept the feelings that you have and the trigger that happens. Number 2, and then Rolanda will talk about this, acknowledge your mistake out loud, it says. If you make a mistake and continue to struggle with letting it go, acknowledge out loud what you learned from the mistake. When you give a voice to the thoughts in your head and the emotions in your heart, you may be free you may free yourself of some of your burdens. You also imprint your mind with what you've learned from actions and consequences. What do you think about that, Rolanda? Acknowledging the mistake out loud. Like, I did it, Lord.
Right. out loud, like, for example, like writing, like, you know, crossing things off, like, you know, people cross off their goals on paper and things like that. I feel like it makes it kind of more real that something is basically, you know, happening. Like, all right, I wrote this goal, you know, down, and I crossed it off because, you know, I accomplished it. I was, you know, upset with myself on this day because of a conversation I had, or because of something I said that I shouldn't probably have said, or I had a conversation with someone and I let my emotions, you know, get the best of me, and the conversation kind of went south.
Been there.
So it's like, once you either, you know, apologize for, you know, your actions, or maybe either apologize for yourself. Like, girl, you know, you could have saved that last 20 seconds. You know, you could have said that to yourself. Like, you know, you didn't have to say it out loud, or you could have kept that to yourself. And it's like, once you like forgive, you know, yourself, you know, that's the best. That's the best bet, honestly. But once you accomplish something, once you do the right thing that you basically wanted to do for that particular time, you want to say it out loud. You want to yell to the mountaintop that you accomplished what you know, said you was gonna accomplish. So I feel like out loud recognition is definitely helps, and it helps you inside as well, because you feel, you know, brave, and you feel accomplished, and you feel motivated. Like, all right, I did this, that, and third. So the next things on my list are 4, 5, and 6. You know, I'm ready. Like, you know, I can definitely do it.
I like what you said, because that's my life. That's been my whole life. Constant work on saving that 20 seconds. Like, not, like, you could have saved that, like, not going. Because when you're, you know, in your emotions or in your feelings, you're speaking from hurt. You're speaking because somebody hurt you, or somebody dismissed you, or somebody, you know, triggered you, which you got to control your own triggers. You know, you can't say somebody triggered me and then do it. You have to know your own triggers and know when to walk away and not even use them to last 20 seconds and be like, you know what? I'm going to leave, or I'm going to hang up. And that's what you know what I'm saying? So when you just said that, I'm like, yep. Sometimes those thoughts before you say something, and then exiting the room or hanging up the phone before those 20 seconds change somebody's life.
Definitely. You have to really learn. And that's... Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to... No, you go, because it's a process, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to say that it's funny that you mentioned it, because a couple days ago I was talking to one of my close friends, and we were talking, and she like asked me like, oh, you know, how do you deal with when you get angry? Like, you know, sometimes people see you get like irritated. Well, for me, sometimes people see me like they get irritated. They know, like, when I have the attitude, like my facial expressions, girl, the facial expressions tell it all. I'm still working on that. But even if I don't say a word, like, my facial expressions tell a whole story. So I'm still working on that part of myself. But we was basically talking, and she was like, you know, bro, how do you control when you're really, really angry? And I told her, I said, you know, honestly, I try not to get to that high peak, because I know once I get there, you know, it usually takes a little minute for me to come back down to reality. So, yes, I told her, I was, you know, sometimes I start sweating, sometimes I start stuttering, sometimes my hands start shaking. Like, once all three of those usually come into play, usually I'm at that peak and I'm highly upset, and everybody should just, you know, run and hide.
Right.
And that's what I was telling her, and I was like, that's why it's sometimes good to know yourself, because sometimes when I know a conversation is gonna go a certain, like, sometimes a conversation may go a certain way. Somebody might say something that I don't like. Somebody might even blink the wrong way, and I don't like it. It's like, you know, like you said, you know what triggers you, and you know what how to handle, you know, sometimes certain situations. And even if you don't know what triggers you, it's always trial and error comes in handy all the time. So it's like, okay, you may not know that's the way a person, you know, approached you didn't, you know, sit right with you. All right, so for me, sometimes when when people, like, when we're having a conversation, and, like, sometimes I don't know how to go from being passionate about something. So it's like, okay, so say, for example, this is positive passion. So, like, say I'm talking about my poetry, or, like, say I'm talking about how when I graduated college, and my voice may get a little higher because I'm, like, so excited, and I'm really passionate to talk to you about this subject. And then sometimes when I get like upset, or I get like, or I'm having like a date where I feel like my point is like really right and the other person's point is really wrong, and my voice escalates, and people may think like, oh, you know, are you mad? Are you upset? No, I'm really trying to get my point across. I feel like what I'm saying is right. You know, so my voice may, you know, go higher. But then on the downside, when I do like get upset, I don't like to yell. So like, say we're having an argument and this person is yelling. I'm usually not yelling. I'm usually talking regular, and so I start getting very upset, and then I get higher because now you're yelling, and I wasn't even yelling to begin with.
Right.
So I'm not really I'm not like a huge screamer. Like, I don't like projecting my voice for negativity. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I project my voice, you know, when the good stuff, like when I'm passionate about something.
Yeah.
But when I'm upset, I try to talk out of regular tones first to try to, you know, get what I'm saying across. Because when you're upset, nobody's gonna hear what you're saying.
Right.
Everybody's gonna see that you're yelling, and they're not gonna understand what is truly, you know, coming out your mouth.
Because they're going to focus on the yelling and not really the meat of what you're trying to say. And I like what you said because I'm that same way. I like what you said because I try not to go there, because once I go there, I'm there. So I try not to even get to that point. I try to stay in a place of peace and positivity, because I know once I get there, I'm there. And then you got to come back down.
There's no coming down.
Right. Then you come back down. Then you may have to apologize. You know what I mean? So I try not to even get to the point where I'm there. So trying to do things like maybe meditate or breathe or walk away, or, you know, because everybody is not where you are. And sometimes people like to pull you out of it, or, you know, you could be being tested to see how you're going to respond. And then you'd be like, doggone it, I failed that. I failed that test again.
And then once you pass, you're like, yes, I'm
right.
I ain't let them get the test.
Right. Yep. 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 Yep.
And you start to dissect the conversation, the situation, and you're like, right, so next time I know not to, raise my voice in that manner. Next time I know to not let what Bob said, get to me.
Yeah.
Next time I know, and then usually sometimes people say stuff that gets to you, it's already stuff that may be the truth.
Yeah.
But you ain't get to that part in yourself yet.
Right.
They can say, I don't care because I done dealt with that already. Like, sometimes at some point you ain't get to in your self-love and your self-help.
Right. It's a process. It's a journey. Right. It's a journey.
It's a whole process.
Right. That's
like, right.
Right.
Bring it up,
Right.
It's noted. Gotta work on that. It's noted.
Right. That's so true.
You overcome.
And then you back down the stairs and you got to walk back up like square one. You got to start square one. You'd be like, I was so good in recovery of not popping off on somebody.
Right.
Now I got to start all over again.
Exactly. It's the stuff that that you done worked on, that you feel like you had an A+ in, and you done love this part of yourself already.
Yeah.
And it's like when they try to throw that part in your face, it's like, well, I already knew that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
You
ain't saying nothing.
And that's a part of self-acceptance and loving yourself, so no one can say anything that's going to ruffle your feathers in that way. And it's all a journey in a process. And also knowing the personality traits of people that you come in contact with, because everyone doesn't mix. You know what I'm saying? You can still love from a distance. It's about who's in your personal space and who not. And then also God will bring people that are challenging in their personality to see how you're going to respond also in that way, because you don't have any control over anyone else but you. So even if it's someone that challenges you and your personality and it might not vibe, it's still on you to see how you're going to handle yourself. And, oftentimes a lot of us fail at that, and I don't like to use the word fail. A lot of us are challenged with that. I've been in mine where because I get along with pretty much everybody and anybody, and I'm able to do that. But then you have that small group where it's like, and that's where your real test is. Man. Right. That's where your real test is, that it's just they're triggering or irritating or not a right fit for you, I guess you would say. Or some people like to knock you off your square too, to see, oh yeah, you're about peace and you're about meditation. Let me just poke. You know what I mean? So you have to be able to stay in within yourself. And if you come out, then be able to forgive yourself and do better the next time. Because that's what it's about. Life is a journey. It's not a rival destination. Well, we're there, we finished. No, it's a process. And throughout life, you're going to meet different types of people.
You're absolutely right.
Yes. All right. So number 3 on this list is think of each mistake as a learning experience. That's how I teach. That's what I love. I love it. So learning experiences that hold the key to moving towards faster and more consistently in the future. Reminding ourselves that we did the best we could do with the tools and knowledge we had at the time will help us forgive ourselves and move forward. Meaning that until you know better, you do better. If you do something, it was the right decision or choice or whatever you did at that time. It could be at that second, at that moment. But knowing better, and like I was just saying, learning from some of the things that you've done or been through to forgive yourself and to know, you know what, I'm still on this journey. Like you said, I haven't arrived at that point yet. And I love that you said that. All right, number 4, give yourself permission to put this process on hold. If you make a mistake, but you have a hard time putting it out of your mind, visualize your thoughts and feelings about the mistake going into a container such as a mason jar or box. Then tell yourself you are putting this aside for now and will return to it when it can benefit you. I love that. Do you like that? I love that.
Yeah, I actually seen a video like that before. It was like a self-love video, and it was like the mason jar where you write sticky notes. And you write like, oh, I'm going to hang out with myself today, or, oh, I'm going to write down my goals for today.
Yeah, I do my mason, my gratitude.
With yourself.
Yeah, because I do a gratitude jar. I even have it on my YouTube channel where I went through it from last year to see what I put in there. But I love the fact that, you know what, I'm going to deal with this later. I'm going to put it in the jar. So it's not saying forget about it. It's saying, you know what? I got too much on my plate or too much in my mind right now, and these thoughts are consuming my life. I can't even function because I keep beating myself up and not forgiving myself. But I'm just going to table it for a minute pretty much so I can get through my life. That's what they're saying. I love it. All right. So
it's like I'm just saying, give me 1 second, like BRB, like,
Right.
I'm not saying forget it. Oh, I'm saying just give me a minute to, just get the rest of myself together, and we're gonna then afterwards we'll backtrack and figure that part out.
I love it. So let's pause there, because you don't even know what you just said. You know what you said, but you don't know what you said. So let that be the highlight of this conversation. In each conversation, I like to have that moment where we pause. So Rolanda said, give yourself a BRB. Be right back. Like, give yourself that. Like, as if you were texting somebody, you going to ghost for a minute, BRB. Be right back. So that's another way of saying, I'm tabling this for now. I'm going to go on with my life. So let's pause and let's meditate on that. Give yourself a BRB. I love that. Love that.
Sometimes we need that. Sometimes we got to give ourselves, grace. We got to give ourselves grace and mercy. Just how we want the good Lord to continue to give us grace and mercy, we got to give ourselves the same thing.
I love it. Extending grace to yourself, pretty much. That's exactly what it is. All right, look, that might be on a T-shirt. Give yourself a BRB. We might have to collaborate with that.
Right, listen, that's fine with me.
You know, I'm about collaborating, putting it on a T-shirt. You know, building this business. Shoot, you already know.
Right. I definitely wear it.
Uh-huh.
On the material, I'm a lot extra large.
I'm looking at my machine. I'm looking at my machine right now as we speak. All right, because I do T-shirts, so we'll talk about that another time. But y'all, if you're interested in that shirt, hit us up, and we'll get that shirt right to you. All right.
That would be dope. That would really be dope. And I know a lot of people will be able to relate to that too.
Yep.
Even though it came up to randomly on the top of my head.
Yep. That's how good things happen. That's how it happens. That's when you know we're in a good, healthy, organic conversation. That's what I like to have on this podcast. I don't like any rehearsed. I don't like questions ahead of time. I like to have organic conversation as if we were sitting in the room with each other, and and people are here listening and adding to the conversation. That's really what it's about. Not no structured.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with structure. Of course, we knew what we were talking about, but I like to have organic conversations on Shine with Kendell Lenice. All right, number 5, as we're winding down, have a conversation with your inner critic. Journaling can help you understand your inner critic and develop self-compassion. One thing you can do... this went out. Give me 1 second. All right. Oh. One thing you can do with journaling is to write out the conversation between you and your inner critic. This can help your identity, thoughts, patterns that are sabotaging your ability to forgive yourself. I love that. Journaling, writing them down, like what is going on. You can also use journaling time to make a list of the qualities that you like about yourself, including your strengths and skills. Then help boost your self-confidence when you're feeling down about the mistakes you made. So basically, and this is, as a life coach, this is kind of some of the things that I do with my clients, but it's important to write down the things that you love about yourself. So when you are having those moments that you're feeling unsure or unworthy, or loathing in unforgiveness, self-unforgiveness, I should say, you can look at the things that you're dope in, the things that you love about you. So you can kind of combat that negative thought with a positive thought, replace that. Number 6, when you are, notice when you are being self-critical. We're our own worst critics, right? It says that's why it's important to listen to the voice that comes in, then write it down. You may be surprised by what your inner critic actually says to you. Number 7, let's talk about this. Quiet the negative message of your inner critic. And do you have an inner critic?
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
And I feel like I do have sometimes myself as an inner critic, because even if I feel like this happens even when I was still in grade school. Like I would take a test. Like I really didn't like exams, and I wasn't really a good test taker. I had extra time in the past, on exams and everything. I forgot the proper name for it, but we basically had extra time on each exam. Because I know, for example, that the answer for number 3 and 4 would be B, but everything in my head would be saying C. So I'm like, oh no, the answer is really B. But I'm like, no, bro, you know the answer is B, but the Tommy in your head keeps saying it's C. I'm like, oh my goodness. So then that used to always get me upset, because when the results come,
you'd be like, I knew it was that. That's why I used to say, go with your first thought.
Yeah, you get it wrong. I would get answers wrong on exams sometimes, because I would pick C, knowing that I know that the answer was B. I'm like, that used to get me so upset. And then other times where it would be I would do a good deed, or I would accomplish a goal, And then the enemy be like, well, that goal was from like 10 years ago. So, it's finally did it. Like when I first published my book, I wanted to honestly publish it since 2016 because I graduated college. And then when I finally did it, it was like, oh, great, awesome, amazing, you crossed out off your goal list, blah, 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 boom. And then the inner me was like, well, since it's been like almost a decade, like, of course you did it by now, like, And it's like, I ain't even asked for that. Like, right.
That other voice all in your business, that wasn't even
girl. It's been 7 years. Finally, you published it. Like,
you say you ain't even asked for all that.
Right. A pandemic had to happen for you to get it together. Like, yes, you're right. A pandemic did have to happen for you to get it together. Thank you. It's having a whole battle with yourself. Like,
But that's how you gotta do it. That's real. That's real.
Yeah, like, who told her to say that? Because I
She all in your business. Mind your business, inner voice. Inner critic, mind your business.
Right. Exactly.
Shut down the inner critic. Shut it down.
Yeah, like, I got it done. Gosh. Give me a cookie or something. Like.
That is so funny. Like, nobody asked you all that. Be quiet. Look, sit down. This ain't even your turn. You're not even supposed to be talking right now. This is my glory moment. Sit down. Like, who asked you to come to the mic?
Like, you on lunch break right now.
Right.
Like,
right. Who asked you to come to the lunch? Who asked you to come to the table? You weren't even supposed to be here. Sit down. Oh man, that is hilarious. That is so true. That is so. We're gonna have a lot of shirts. Look, we're gonna have a lot of shirts out of this conversation. Look, everything's a shirt to look.
People ain't gonna know what hit them.
Right, as you can see, everything's a shirt to me because it's real. This is for real. We laughing, but who told you to say something? Like, why you gotta be in this? It's not your business right now. I'm celebrating.
Yeah, and it's always yourself.
Right. I'm celebrating. I'm happy right now. Nobody told your negative energy to come into the conversation. And these are both sides of you. That's deep. That's deep. That's real. Number 8, get clear about what you want. Number 9, take your own advice. I love this, and I'm going to elaborate on this. It's like, just like I said earlier, you can forgive other people. And if somebody came to you, be like, you should forgive them. You should forgive yourself. But are you taking your own advice? Are you shutting down that inner critic in you? Are you celebrating and exalting you on a job well done? Are you harping on all the things that you did wrong or all the things you could have done? Let's think about that. Number 10 on their list, quit playing the tape. It's human nature, and this is what I was talking about earlier. It's human nature to spend time and energy replaying your mistakes. While some processing is important, going over what happened again and again and again will not allow you to take the proper steps to forgive yourself. Yeah, because if you're still living in that moment, how are you going to be able to get out of that moment? In coaching, we call that reframing the conversation. So, say for instance, a single mom keeps telling the same scenario. I was a single mom. I was the mom and dad. I was struggling through, we ate popcorn and popsicles for dinner, and I'm surprised that you, like, come on, right? You got to say, you know what? I took care of you as a single parent. I was your mother. I loved you. And look at you today. Or God helped us. You can tell that reframing is saying, I'm so proud of what I did, blah, 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 blah. However you want to reframe it in a positive way. Not every time you think about being a single mom, you think about the woes of it. And the hard time and the struggle, because what's going to happen is it's going to put you back in that place over and over and over again. Instead of being in the attitude of gratitude and celebration, like, we did that. We did that. Look at that.
Wait, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, give me one. I'm sorry. I'm still stuck on the popcorn and the popsicle. I'm still stuck on that. I'm like, wait, popcorn and popsicle?
That just came, that popped in my head. I don't know why.
Listen, popcorn came in handy when I was in college. Okay?
Come on.
I used to mix it with the Fruit Loop cereal. Nice snack.
Oh, you really hooked that up.
Listen, I used to be full to the next morning, okay? You used to hold me over.
Shoot, Pops.
Listen, that's a salty and sweet combination. Can't go wrong with it. Can't go wrong with a salty and sweet combination.
Use the popsicle to wash down the salt.
Exactly.
Oh.
In all seriousness, that's really true. That's really true. How sometimes people only want to shine the light on the negativity when it's like, okay, but you didn't die. Like,
right.
You had your popcorn and your popsicle, but you made it, right?
Right.
You gained your weight. You went to your doctor's appointment. They said you was malnourished. So listen.
Like you did that.
Listen.
Like if you now eating whatever shrimp and lobster or whatever you're doing now, and you know about that, then
don't play.
Right.
Don't
You
ate the popsicles and popcorn.
Right. You know, right. If it was, because the thing is, people, even if they rise past the poverty, let's just say, or the struggle, they want to still live in it as if it gives them their street cred or their points, or they want to keep saying, yeah, because I'm from the hood. But you've been in this mansion for about 10 years. You keep telling people you from the hood, like, okay, but I'm hood. I ain't okay, but you don't think that you deserve elevation, growth, and betterment. That's what it is. Each generation should be better. You don't have to keep saying that. Right. But some people just want to stay in the struggle. And once again, going back to what I was saying in the beginning of the conversation, a lot of folks, especially black people, feel like they can't give themselves permission to be better or grow or be in a different space.
Happy and grow.
Right.
They want to be like, oh, but back then, like, granted, you're never supposed to forget, like, where you came from. Of course, you're going to wear that on your back, to the same job. But it's like, it's okay to say, listen, now, now I used to, clean, and I used to eat certain things and clean up certain days of the week, back in the day, because I had different things going on, living where I was living. But now, I'm in my mansion, I got my cleaning lady,
right.
Sarah, she comes twice a week,
But it's almost as embarrassing. You said Clara. Did you say Clara? Did you say Clara?
Yeah, that was the first name that popped in my head. Sorry. Yeah, like, just be happy, like, celebrate, like, yeah, now I have a chef, now I have a cleaner.
Come
lady.
on.
Now I take my clothes to the cleaners instead of once a year. I take them once a month.
Come on.
Now I done elevated, like, Now
but,
I have a prayer closet. Now
come
I have
on.
a library.
Come on.
Now I have different things. Like, I don't have to sit my book on the side of the heater anymore. Now I don't have to
put together that IKEA. I don't have to put together that IKEA.
Right. I don't gotta hang out with my uniform outside the window so it can dry no more. Now I can take it to the dryer.
Oh, you better come on.
You don't gotta warm your hands on the stove no more,
You ain't gotta open up the store. You don't gotta open up the oven for heat. Come on.
Right, exactly. You don't gotta sit by the stove no more for the heat.
Lighting candles, right? Shoot,
yeah,
come on.
You got full blown.
Come on.
Because you can afford it,
But that's the thing, though, Rolanda. That's the thing. People feel like they can't be better or have better because somehow it makes them feel that they sold out or they're not down anymore. That's what happens, and rest in power to even Nipsey Hussle and Young Dolph and all these people that want to stay in the hood to help the hood, but then the hood it's like even your people don't want to see you better, and that's what I want to change. You know what I'm saying? If you see somebody who was in the hood with you, and now they're better, and they come back to the hood to give back, but you mad that they got out of it, or now you want to dog them because they left. You know what I'm saying? And we got to stop that as a community. You should feel good that you can leave it, and it doesn't mean you leave your history or leave your community. It just means that you want to show, to me, it shows that if I got out, you can get out. And you should want better, and that's because some people make them feel guilty, but then that's the thing too with self-forgiveness, because in some cases, people ain't making them feel guilty. They feel guilty themselves, and they can't even forgive themselves that they moved out and they want a better life for their family, because each generation should be better.
Exactly. And then you should go back and try to help your fellow family and friends, be better, so they can have the taste of the quote unquote good life that you basically indulging in right now.
Absolutely.
Each one supposed to teach one.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't feel like, oh, you did something wrong by elevating.
Yeah.
And it's like you each time you write down you write down goals, and you write down things that you wanna accomplish. You write down the steps that you have to take in order to accomplish these goals. When you finally accomplish them,
yeah.
all in all, elevation is, the goal.
Yeah.
So it's like, why feel sad, or why feel, discouraged, or why feel like, oh, I left my homies because I moved to such and such, and they're still on the block.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can teach them to not be on the block, or you can teach them to, okay, they just so happen to still financially be able to, still be able to be on the block.
Yeah.
Because that's where they are. That's where they are financially right now. But if you help them, they could be down a block from you.
Yeah, there you go.
Cleaners, you have to go to, the same art museum together.
Yeah.
Go to martial arts together.
Yeah.
Like y'all can live, in the same, bracket if each person will basically teach one. But all in all, elevation is the goal.
Yes.
If not, then while we write down these
goals, that's the thing.
While we watching positive videos.
And that's the thing.
While we doing all this stuff.
Yeah. And that's what people have to understand. That's a way to forgive yourself, because people feel like they have to be martyrs, or they have to be poor, or they have to be down with the struggle or struggling to prove something. And a lot of people that are starting to have money and changing things, they still have they got to forgive themselves or give them permission to be better. Wow, we're almost at the end of the show. We got about 3 minutes left. Let me finish this. This was good. 11, show kindness and compassion, of course, to yourself, and seek professional help. If you're having a hard time, see a life coach, a counselor, a therapist. Talk to someone to say, you know what? I can't stop beating myself up, or it's difficult for me to forgive myself, or how can I forgive myself? And maybe they can give you homework, teaching you ways, or hopefully listening to this episode will give you a different insight in knowing that, you are worth forgiveness. No matter what's happening, or no matter what you're going through, just understand that you have to be able to forgive yourself so you can move forward and live a happy, healthy life. Just like you can forgive someone else, you have to give the gift of forgiveness to yourself. It's so important that you do that. Whatever you need to do it, whether you need to journal, whether you need to see a life coach, whether you need to talk to a good friend, someone who has been in that position, or sit down with yourself and have that conversation like Rolanda and I were talking about. Like telling that voice to sit down and mind its business while you get through whatever you're getting through. Just know that God does forgive you. And you have to learn to forgive yourself. That's why I'm big on helping you heal and grow and to move to the next level in life. We've all been there where we have to forgive ourselves. No one is exempt from self-forgiveness. Rolanda St Felix, thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you so much for having me. I totally appreciate it. This conversation has been amazing. I done learned some things myself that I'm definitely gonna, take with me. And I definitely appreciate you so much for this opportunity.
Yes, you are welcome. We all have a life toolbox, right? And every experience, every podcast we listen to, every show, every book that we watch, everything that we go through, we can put that in our toolbox. So then when we need to use it, we're able to use it and understand what kind of situation we're in or what's happening in our life to say, let me go in my toolbox, because I remember listening to Shine with Kendell Lenice, and they were talking about self-forgiveness, or let me use this opportunity to be better. Let me go back to a time. That's what our life toolbox is, and that's why I call this a life podcast. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me on this episode of Shine with Kendell Lenice. Don't forget to tell a friend about this podcast, and don't be stingy when you hear something good. Make sure you share this on social media and send it to your friends and family via text, social media, email, however you want to get it to them, just get it to them. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rolanda.
Thank you so much.
All right.
I want to say,
God bless everybody.
Shine with Kendell Lenice. Real talk for real people. Let's shine together.
Thanks for listening. This has been a Kenny Lynn production.